Right, what's up, everybody? Some technical difficulties. Also, Bobby Manning was listening in on Ime Udoka,
What up?
who was talking about stuff. What was he
Talking
talking
about
about?
stuff.
Talking about this team playing its potential, both ends
Talking
of the
about
floor.
defense.
Yes.
Talking about
Great quote.
defensive rating. Yep.
Net
Yeah.
rating. Defensive efficiency. Field goal percentage.
They are on fire from a defensive standpoint. And listen, I came into this year saying this could be the best defense in the NBA, and I think they're there.
History.
The opponent considered, of course, but you've seen good teams, you've seen bad teams over the last month or so here, and they, over the last 5 games here, have held 4 opponents under 100, which is pretty tough to do in the league today.
Yeah, I mean,
I'm
look,
thinking too,
yeah,
the way they're calling
yeah,
basketball this year too plays to how they want to play defense. I think that's helped Horford, Smart, Rob, a lot of these different guys who, are physical players, long players who, want to really dig in on that end of the court. Good quote from Ime. Our defense is suffocating at times. Blah 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 blah. With a pit bull for a point guard. Giving Smart that love.
Pitbull for a point guard.
Smart was phenomenal.
Don't
tonight.
say it. Don't
phenomenal.
Say it. You know who else was phenomenal? Bobby?
Dennis
Schroeder. I know we're not going to talk about Dennis Schroeder all show, but he had a great game. This is a big week for him. Big week for the Celtics.
I want to ask about Dennis. Yeah.
What they're going to have to do. Every time the Celtics put a performance in like this, I think Wick pulls out more and more of his hair because it's going to be harder and harder for him to justify trading Schroeder so that he can go on a $10 million vacation. So,
Seriously.
I can't imagine he's happy with this 6-game winning streak because if they just roll over and died like some people thought they might have, then it's a no-brainer. You go ahead and trade Schroeder, get whatever you can, if you can even get anything, and call it a season. But now, listen, Bobby, you just mentioned it. I mean, they're playing like one of the best defenses in the NBA, and that that shows in the stats, that shows in the score column, it shows in the win column. Like they are playing that way. Now, I'm not gonna say that's because of Dennis Schroeder, but he's obviously a part of winning when he drops 20-something that he does tonight, and he's one of the guys, along with Jaylen Brown, that kind of had it going offensively early on. These are important players, whether or not they're your stars, because they keep you in the game or they stretch leads out when a guy like Tatum has another cold start to this game. And you just lose them for nothing. I don't know how you can justify it.
I don't know how you can justify trading him for nothing. Like, what's the goal there? Like, it's just money.
That's that's the dilemma, and this is where it's going to get ugly. It's right now
very ugly.
It's already. I am still stunned at the lack of reaction to some of the moves that have been made recently.
We went in on the Powell one. We'll see about
that signify right now whether or not you want these guys. You can nitpick Powell or Karis LeVert today to as much as you want. Well, he doesn't do this and that. Doesn't matter. The bigger point is there's actually talented professional caliber players that are basically just being given away right now.
For picks, yeah.
Teams don't want to pay them. They just want cap relief, and they'll take a pick.
From blown ACLs. Bobby's blown ACL trade actually happened.
And they are gone. Right. The blown ACL trade happened.
Yeah, and the pick went out with it too.
And so this to me signifies if you wanted Karis LeVert here, you could have just matched salary and thrown a few things away. And I mean, worst case scenario, Romeo Schroeder, and a first, and you have that if that's what you want, if you want it. But that puts you over the tax, and that's obviously not what they want. The Powell was another situation where that's just money. If you want it, you can have it. Those are
Covington.
For the taking. It doesn't matter. There's going to be a few of those. So that was my thing at the beginning where we were talking about the trades. It's scenario one. You can trade Schroeder for next to nothing, or Schroeder and whatever for next to nothing. That's going to just give you cap relief. Or two, you can add salaries together to get something that's actually going to be valuable and make your team better, but it's going to put you over the tax. And they're going to go with A. And so we'll never know what deals they didn't make, but would it be surprising if they haven't even didn't even make a phone call about inquiring about guys like this? Like, you've got Indiana's basically like, come get my guys right now. You think they're actually going to call to inquire about,
They'll call. They always call. I'm sure they call. They took the Simmons call, but
they're always in on it. They're the king of being in on it, right?
Yeah.
But they're never actually the ones closing the deal.
The phone is open. You can call and chat with
Yeah.
Brad,
Right.
but that's all you're
So
gonna do.
it's
But
going to be
that's
a very
if
interesting
nothing
week.
happens, right? But that's where Jimmy
I
said
don't
it.
know
Like,
what they want though. Like
I don't know what they want either.
I've been
Brad's
saying
been
this for
very
2-3
tight
Jimmy, if
with
the
us with
thing
it.
you said happens, that's a bad. Like, if
Totally.
competitive players are dealt for nothing that makes you better, and the obvious impetus for that trade was savings only, you can fudge it in some trades, right? You can be like, I think this
Mhm.
is good for us down the road and it gives us flexibility. But if you just basically just burn him for a guy that you're going to buy out or not, who never sees the court,
I don't
it,
want to
Right.
listen, John.
that's
You kind of
bad.
sound like me. I'm not gonna kill them
Oof.
until Thursday passes. I want to see what they do here.
I am
I want to give them
pre-killing them.
I want to give
Yeah.
them the chance to actually go through with whatever they're going to do or not here. The tricky thing with the two deals that are on the table so far is the money here. So you have two deals with guys with sizable contracts going
Yeah.
out, Eric Bledsoe and I'm going to get to Smart, Ricky Rubio. Your guys in that regard are Smart and Richardson, the real money that can go out to match in these deals to take it back in. Because, you're not in a position to really take on contracts outright. You could have done it with Covington. I don't think you could have done it with Powell too when the TP, but we know they're not going to do that. So if you're going to improve the Celtics, you got to send out money here. So Jimmy's talked about you only got like 1-2 shots at this to make these deals given the amount of assets you have. So if you're going to send out Smart in a deal, it's going to be the right one. If you're going to send out Richardson,
Right.
even,
Your
it's
one
going to be the
chance.
right one. You guys missed it. Joe Sway and Sherrod were getting cold feet about trading Richardson. I was like, what? And he goes 0 for 8 today. Like, that's the guy who's the money here, the salary matching. I am not hesitant to trade Richardson. He's a nice part of this team. He's had a good year, but they were talking like he was untouchable. Never mind Smart, Brown. I couldn't believe what I was hearing the other day from those two. But yeah, so
in what type of deal? I mean, in what
they
world
wouldn't
is
trade him for
Richardson?
Barnes. I was
Yeah,
like, you wouldn't do
it's-
Richardson on a pick for Barnes. They're like, no way. Richardson just
Well,
had a
so
big
that's
night.
the thing. Richardson now becomes a value because his salary is so there are teams with $20 million guys that don't want them, and they want $14 million guys, because they're
Mhm.
trying to save some money somewhere if they can. So if Richardson now becomes appealing to teams who want to sell their $22 million guys that they don't really want to hang on to for a couple more years.
Yeah, you can save $4 or $5 million in a deal if you send out
Plus,
less.
also, you could have a guy who's on for a couple extra years, like Powell, for example.
Mhm.
Most teams want to get out within a year, but Richardson is actually a value at his contract now. The way he's playing and a position, a versatile, type player in a position that teams covet. He's a nice little plug and play piece. He's actually a good asset for you to have, but therefore he should be an asset if you wanted to rob poorer teams that want to get under the tax. Instead, you're that team. That's the frustrating part, is you should be looking at every team that's like, get me under the tax. We're done. We're not contending. If you want to contend, you got to go take from them. If you don't want to contend, then you're going to be them. And
It's so weird. We've always talked about this dynamic where you have
so
more
which
to give
one
up.
are you? You got to decide.
The tricky thing in these negotiations, it's not always.
Last year we had the same question. It's Groundhog Day. It's Groundhog Week. Here we are again. Same position.
Well, I know for a fact that this team's not going to buy a rental after how last year went with that type of move. You definitely want to do something more forward facing.
They had an expiring TPE that they had. I don't know. I guess you'd have to.
You could have saved it for the summer. Yeah, the whole thing there. That was a mistake, clearly, looking back on it. And they'll probably do the same thing with this year's TP, just considering the tax implications of using part of it even this year. So I understand that. But you can send out money on this team, take back money, stay under the tax, and it works. It's just you have to be willing to part with Smart or Richardson. Those are your guys. It's not apples for apples. You can't look at the Clippers trading Bledsoe and say that's all, or the Cavs saying trading Rubio and say that's all.
Bobby, you can do things like Smart. You can, without getting Smart, you can find 20 million by doing Schroeder, Romeo.
You're just trading a lot of players, though.
No, but you can do Schroeder, Romeo, Bamba, and friggin' what's his name? The two guys you just got, and you're done. You're at 20.
Bamba.
You can get
Bamba died
not
tonight.
Bamba and Jason Richardson.
Bol. Sorry,
Yeah.
Bol. You can get there. Like, you can piece together, a bunch of things that are expiring if you want to get,
you have
close.
money. You have money to toss at it.
I mean, the Wancho was the bigger piece, and that's why when he got traded,
and that's why I didn't love that deal.
We're like, so there goes your. That's what tipped you,
So that's what sends the clear signal here. Press all the Schroeder reports. There's been like 5 of them at this point that they're trying to get off him outright. So you see what this team is angling for here. It feels like they're just going to kind of stand pat and dump the money, which is frustrating because it does feel like this year is going to be an active year at this deadline. They're usually not. Teams usually get cold feet and stand pat and figure it out in the summer. But we've already seen Powell move, Levert move, and there's going to be more to come here.
Yeah,
with this Brooklyn smoke.
you can improve your team now with if teams are signifying we want to get out from contracts, you can improve your team by stacking together enough salary or absorbing something into the TPE and trading a pick. And if you wanted to, teams are right now letting it be known, I don't want to pay these guys anymore. So it's 2 teams have already signified this, and you weren't clearly in on either. We can debate all the live long day if Powell or Levert make you better. But again, my philosophy and what I said on our text thread is this: if you screwed up your draft, which is why you're in the position you're in now, the only way you have out of this is to throw money at the problem.
And picks.
But no, you have 2 choices. You either hold on to the picks and replenish and then hope that you hit, or let's say 3 options. You sell pieces and you rebuild and get picks, or you get rid of the picks and get the players. You know, that's kind of it right now. If you wanted to get better, you need more capital. You either need the talented players or more draft capital. One of those 2 things. You can't just do nothing. You know, like doing nothing is you put yourself in this position. You have to now be proactive in some capacity to fix it.
You're several steps away. I've said this again and again.
Right.
There's not one magical deal, even if we start talking about Beal at some point during the show again here. Even a Beal trade doesn't, I think, put you in the conversation again. You know, you're so thin at that point that you don't really have a team.
No, but imagine where they'd be with like a Maxey or a Bain even, you know, like just having hit 1 pick out of the last 5 would be a huge difference here. That's why they're screwed.
Especially if you're going to try to add a 3rd expensive piece, because your depth is young guys that are cheap.
If you'd hit 1 out of 5 picks, 4, you'd be okay. I mean, I know you traded 1 this year, but you've had 5 picks in your possession over the last 3 years.
And I hate hearing Horford's name in this.
And you mucked him 6 picks rather, because you traded Bain away. You mucked him, man. So out of 6 picks, you traded 1 to get off of Kemba, 1 to get off of Cantor, and then you drafted Grant, Pritchard, Neesmith, and Romeo. I mean, 0 for 6 with 6 draft picks. Holy crap.
And I saw
you have to fix that.
Yeah, and it's not a conversation.
It sucks when you say it like that, Jimmy, right? It sounds awful.
Yeah.
You know?
I'm like, oh God, like stop.
Hitting 1 out of 6 of those first-round picks.
We got to peek at them. We got to peek at a couple of them tonight in a 25-point game, as is tradition. But yeah, I mean that seems to be the extent of where these guys are at on this roster. And I keep going back and forth on what the Celtics should do, what position they're in. But you know, every trade they aren't a part of, another contender is, and that the Cavs got better today. You take a look at the standings, and I know that the Celtics are only a few games behind, like. However you want to frame it, the East is very close right now, and you can say it's wide open, but I just still don't think the Celtics are one of those top tier teams. No, I really don't even think it's that close, despite how well they're playing lately. I think it's great that they're playing great defense, but at the end of the day, it's an offensive, it's offense first league, and in a 7-game series, defense isn't going to win you a championship.
No.
And for whatever reason, this year, Tatum and as much as they do fill the stat sheet from time to time, it's the consistency for me that I can't really depend on those guys to show up in a series or really on a
Tatum
night-in,
and Brown
basis.
Really struggled these last 2 against bad opponents, and that's sort of the story of the year here. Their inefficiency. Part of it's them having to take on a massive load and do a ton, especially Brown at this point from a volume standpoint. The amount of points that he's starting to put up, and I saw a couple of games ago that he leads the NBA in field goals made since he got back from injury, right there with LeBron and others. That's a nice stat this year where availability is important and volume for a team that just doesn't have volume scoring is important. But once you get into a series and you're playing a really good opponent that can go basket for basket with you and their defensive intensity ratchets up, your defensive advantage definitely gets hindered a little bit. I mean, in a game like this, in last game, it was close for a while, closer than it should be against two teams like these, and then they just end up missing way more than you do. The
Orlando
shooting
couldn't
from
hit shots.
the shooting from the Celtics again here, dreadful. Oh,
Guys,
it's so bad.
Yeah. Guys, I understand everyone
On
likes
point,
Grant Williams.
on brand. I mean,
Grant is not a miss in the sense of he's not useless.
He was a good pick.
Grant again, just people have to understand. Grant is
that's
a
not
miss.
what we're talking about.
Grant is a miss in the thing of
your
it's
third
just,
star.
You're looking for hits. You're looking for big hits there. It's not that guy. It's not Grant slander. All I'm saying is it's not a hit.
You didn't draft him for that though. You drafted Romeo for that.
Sure.
That was the big miss.
I know what I'm saying is you've seen guys in the last 2 years now. And again, I know the numbers. Basically stars, franchise caliber type players are usually 1 and 2, up to 5 is your potential all-stars, 5 to 10 is starters, 10 to 15, 10 to 20 rotation players if you're lucky. I understand that it's not easy to find
there
them.
Are exceptions.
All I'm saying is you take a lot of swings at it. You should hit every once in a while. And they've had 6-7 swings in the last few years when they've either gotten rid of the picks for nothing of real value or drafted guys who didn't end up being in the conversation of a Bain or a Maxey or a Halliburton or blah, blah, blah. So those guys are there.
Right. It's very simple. Take a look.
It's not hard to get them, but 1 out of 6, 1 out of 7, to miss that many times and to muck all of those picks is where you're at. Grant just isn't. He's not even a starter. He's just a guy. Yeah, he's fine.
Call it like it is. Call it what it is. And we're talking about a player that they draft that really exceeds, what a lot of people had thought, or maybe, he had some hype coming in the draft and he actually did live up to it. And wow, this guy really is the real deal. You can go around the league and find guys like this. I mean, take a look at the All-Star game. You're going to have the rookies versus the
Rising
sophomores.
Stars game.
You see any Celtics players in those games?
Not only that sophomore team, that's the biggest kick in the what. That sophomore team
it could have been Celtics.
has 7 players that were available to the Celtics. If you had 1, 2, or 3 of those, right now you're talking about a team with 2 stars.
Dude,
and
there you go.
Exciting young players coming up behind them, and oh my God, the future's so bright. How are they going to fit all these guys in?
Feel here. Yeah, it used to feel when Tatum and Brown were
up, and you had the established guys.
Right.
Right. I mean, again, it's
you do not have that
automatic.
right now. Not at
Tatum
all.
and Brown were picked number 3
right,
overall.
It's different,
and those guys aren't. But there was talent to be had, and they missed. Yeah,
right.
The Neesmith one's really starting to be a killer, especially when you see his name floated. And
I don't think you can get anything for Neesmith.
Did Scal call him out? Did you hear Scal at the end of the game?
I didn't hear it. No.
Him and Grandy were just talking about how you really, really, really want to see some good minutes from Neesmith and Romeo and Pritchard. I think they specifically said Neesmith
that thing
and
in
Pritchard.
Detroit was embarrassing.
But what Scal said was, he goes, well, look, Grandy was like, why, it's just strange why he's just not playing more. And Scal was like, well, you got to imagine they see him every day at practice, so they've got to know something.
There's something that we don't know.
Said that.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like there's something that they don't like that we don't know about or something like that.
Like everyone screams online every day, why isn't he playing these guys? I mean, he knows what he has to some degree. And, there's contractual stuff and politics and this and that do go into it. But we've seen these guys for a couple of years now, too. And then you get your opportunities. And I say this about Pritchard, too, who I love. And you go in Detroit and have a 22-point lead go down to 7. That's not going to help you.
I missed
Even
that
if
game,
you're playing with Bruno and Ennis.
I was following along with the fourth quarter, and I was like, "What is going on? Why is this lead dwindling to single digits like this?"
Tatum was like, "Oh, geez, that was scary," and Ime was disgusted in pregame today. That was a bad look for the young guys, and I know Ennis and Bruno were out there not helping much either. But wow,
is this the last game?
Yeah, the fourth quarter where they almost blew the game.
They had like a 20-something point lead.
So that's let's go back to the Schroeder thing. You trade Schroeder, you get nothing back. All of a sudden, you're trying to make a run and you're feeling good about what you're building here. And I guess the goal is to see how far you can draw this out. And all of a sudden, you're sprinkling minutes down to the guys that the coach doesn't believe in that much.
Well, that's the whole thing. You can't.
I know Richardson can step into those holes, but one guy gets injured, and all of a sudden, you're relying on Romeo, Pritchard, and Neesmith.
Well, that's the thing. You can't trade Schroeder on Thursday and then say, yeah, we're making a run, we're making a playoff run, we're loading up, we're the everyone's spirits are high right now. We're excited for the playoff stretch. You can't say those two things. So it's got to be one or the other. It can't be both.
Or you got to bring back something real.
As Jimmy said, Wick is sweating bullets right now because there's no way to do this.
I don't get this either. So
there's no way to do this without it being obvious what your goal is. And once that happens, and again, this is why I don't get, and this is why I'm pre-mad, is everything is heading in this direction, okay? And yes, they can surprise us, and I'll friggin' sit here and be like, wow, first person to say, I'm shocked they made a real move.
You will apology cam it in front of everybody.
Fine, whatever.
Oh, okay. We'll see.
I'm sorry, I prejudged the guy who hasn't spent into the tax.
Pre-anger. Apologize for your pre-anger.
Who's only once spent into the tax in the last decade, and it was by only $3 million. I'm sorry for guessing that's what we're trying to do again here.
It is something to look at the Nets books. I wrote about the Harden thing and seeing $110 million in tax.
Crazy.
Like, that might clean out Wick's account.
I mean, I get it. There's some people here who are just, treating this like funny money,
I mean, you want to be somewhat responsible for it in a way, but also what we said on the show many times, like it should be like this should be fantasy basketball for a lot of these owners. It shouldn't be like an investment and you're holding near and dear to your dollars and cents. Like you own this team, like Mark Cuban. You know what I mean? Like Mark Cuban does what he thinks it takes to win over there in Dallas. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't, but no one's going to accuse him of cheaping out.
Again, I will support either. I will still support. I would still support the trade pieces for assets and screw the season or get better now. The only thing I don't support is save money and do nothing.
Yeah, right. Because I don't think they're good enough anyway.
Embrace an opportunity to get better tomorrow or get better today. Do not stand in place. I was more for the tank, but now that they're winning and the rest of the conference is a mess, I can understand an argument of, hey, should we try to improve, and see? You can understand it better now. But I would be fine if they did either. Trade and if you can get firsts or draft picks or capital or younger something to other teams that want stuff, great. Go get it. Or improve. Do something. You cannot stand in place. You have to acquire talent today or tomorrow. You can't miss opportunities to get better for whenever. That's the problem is you can't miss them. You're watching players being given away for money. You can go get them.
Right.
Or not, or then just wait in the offseason.
Wow, John sounds like me.
With the East being so open,
but it's not a tank, Bobby. I don't care about the results. I care about it's not a winning team. I just care about you need to get better because you've missed so many opportunities to before. They don't come around often. If there are teams wanting either your players or willing to give you players, you have to listen. You have to listen. Just saving money here sucks.
I can't figure out if the East being as open as it is that good or bad for like teams looking to improve, because there's a lot of teams that are still feeling like they're in it.
The buyer's market's tight.
Yeah, there's a lot of teams that are maybe interested in improving because they do feel the same way that maybe the Celtics feel now. So I don't know how that helps your chances on improving in that sense because there's more demand,
Yeah, the competition for guys like Barnes and those middling guys that can help the edges of your roster will definitely ramp up. I guess on the other side, there's been more Schroeder interest than I thought there would be. It's like the Bucks and Bulls being connected today, the Cavs for a little while there. So maybe you end up getting better for him than you would have expected before.
Who knows?
And that's not something that blows up your team.
But look at this now, Bobby. I'm actually worried. Before I thought people might be able to to overpay for stuff. But if you're seeing how cheaply a player of the talent of Karis LeVert is going, which is again a late first round pick and money, like you think you're going to get a first for Schroeder? Like I don't think so anymore.
No.
We just saw the asking price for two much better players.
You're not getting a first for Schroeder. Let's be honest.
So you're not getting it.
He's a rental. He's very, not. I wouldn't say much of a chameleon when it comes to joining teams, as we found out here.
Yeah.
And there's just teams aren't going to give up that.
They
exactly.
take that on. Yeah.
Exactly. Like, I mean, what do you expect? So I don't expect.
So here's the only. I don't buy the repeater tax stuff. They're so far from that. And Brown's 2 years from free agency. Save that. The only competitive advantage I can think to saving money now is if you think you're doing a sign and trade in the offseason, because you obviously hard cap yourself in that situation. If you take on a Powell, a Barnes, or something like that bumps you 20 million and 10, 15 over the hard cap at that point, you really can't get a Brunson this offseason in a sign and trade, or a Beal if you end up hitting a miracle there. So that's the only competitive advantage I can think to not doing
The
this
only
now.
opportunity for Schroeder is at this point is to go in the other direction, to trade him to someone who wants to get rid of salary. It's the only way to make it work. That's the only way.
Well,
to make
here's
it
the
work.
weird thing about the tax. So Brown's probably not making the All-Star game, right? Like, there's like a miracle chance if someone gets hurt.
I thought the bonuses don't kick in if you're a replacement.
Oh, that's a good question.
I think you have to be named. I don't know if it's an add-on.
That's a good question, but let's just say it does add on whatever. Let's just say he doesn't make it at all. That's minus 1.9 million, and then there's some games played stuff that I'm pretty sure he's not going to hit. So you're within 800,000 now. You don't need to dump Schroeder to get under that. You just need to trade Dozier, PJ Dozier somewhere, and you're pretty comfortably under that tax line.
What's going to happen to all the people out there that have been?
So then why would they then, Bobby?
Yeah.
If he gets something, I guess. That's why a dump would be inconceivable to me. Especially when you're trying to piece together a little run here, you're feeling good about yourself, and he is doing things still. I know, he's aggravating, but on a night like tonight, he cracked open the offense when it wasn't there for you,
and
he
done
still
that
does
many
that from time
times.
to
That's
time.
kind of thing he's done. The best thing he's done is when things kind of stall, or the Jays aren't on, and they can't figure out. Or if
Smart gets hurt, he's perfect stepping into that role.
As infuriating as Schroeder is for a million of the things that he does, still the number one NBA skill is shot creation, and you just don't have very many people
Putting
who
the
do
ball
that.
in the net.
It's just the ability to create your own shot. When you don't have guys who can do that, and everything is stalled, having a guy who can do that is great.
I thought Bernardoni said it well. Pritchard, and this is kind of how I felt with the Pritchard thing, Pritchard can do what Schroeder's doing now off the bench. Pritchard can't step in if Smart gets hurt, if it comes to that. And Richardson can't either. I don't see him being a starting point guard if Smart gets hurt. So you're paper thin. You're 8 deep right now. If you trade Schroeder, you're 7 deep. So anybody gets hurt, you're done.
Something on Al. That's your problem. Like any movement any opportunity to get rid of some dough, and
I don't understand trading Al at all. I mean, he's your salary now if you want to do something big.
Well, because really right now you're going to drop him next year, most likely in the offseason, to only have to pay 14.5 instead of 26.
Yeah, if you're really blown away,
that's the biggest wick move in the world, right? I mean, why wouldn't that happen?
You hold him so you can cut him so you can save more money.
Right. Isn't that the whole reason why they pretty much traded?
The problem is now you wonder whether he's worth keeping 26.
Maybe.
If you can't improve other places, it's very weird.
He's a good backup center, and he was great tonight. I thought this was his best game in a long time. Defending, passing out of the high post.
Yeah, he was good. He even got up for a dunk.
Got aggressive with the shot too. Yeah, and he's got 10 rebound nights out of the last 4.
So Jalen turned things around. Obviously, he had the highlight of the game with that freaking poster, and he got hot late, which is nice because that's what he does. But Bobby, you were a little bit worried about Tatum.
Yeah, the shot making right now is brutal, and it doesn't feel we're so deep into the season now.
Plus 32 tonight, and the defense I thought was really good.
Yeah, some good passes too.
Why do you think his shot's gone?
Threes.
I still don't know. I'm curious what you guys think.
I can only say that miss was horrific. That was like a mental miss.
Yeah, it's a completely. Not only that, he had it. He was clear 7-8 feet from a defender.
Schroeder gave him a beautiful pass, wide open.
Until the guy got on him to shoot. He took so long to line it up, and then that's the biggest brick I've ever seen him shoot.
Yeah,
it was baffling, honestly.
Baffling.
He to his credit, he hit a couple threes after that, shortly after that, which is nice. But you just don't see guys with that talent miss that badly and miss as often as he's been missing.
He's
That's
about
the concerning
32%
part.
this year, right? For a 38% career shooter. He's usually money out there, especially stepping around those screens. Shooting over a drop defense, mid-range even at times he can get going. And it's just not there. It's a flat shot this year, and we're deep into the season. 3-point shooting's down around the league, which I guess is the only thing that makes you feel a little bit better about it. But what are some things that are affecting him individually? Is it the extra size he put on? Is it the way defenses are guarding him a little tighter. You know, it's tough to tell because you would have imagined he would have broken out of it by this point. You know, slow starts happen, guys get going. He and some others, Bradley Beal as well, I would throw into this camp, just never got their 3-point shot back this year. And it's so strange to me. No one's really written like a big piece
Is it
about
the ball?
Is it the
People
ball?
people hate the ball.
People hate the ball. I mean, he hasn't used that as an excuse.
So I talked to a Celtics coach earlier in the year about the ball, and he actually laughed at that was like being talked about. So that definitely is not a discussion inside the Celtics.
I know, but that's where we're at now. We're like, could it be the ball? Could it be the temperature inside the TD
No,
Garden? Like,
none of these basketball players at the highest level can handle the new ball.
Right.
I mean,
like
shouldn't
Jamar
these guys
Chase
be
on
able
the
to put like
Bengals.
volleyballs through, or like those balls that just have no grip left on them?
Right.
The ball's got to be at the bottom of the list of things to blame.
I know,
But you know, Curry.
That's how
even this
baffled
year,
we are by this, though. We're
Curry
really
even
reaching.
this year has had his worst shooting season ever by far. So it is a league-wide thing that's
Curry's
going
been a
on.
mess after a hot start. Beal has had a really tough shooting season.
Lillard early on.
Yeah.
Randall fell off the map. So there are numerous stars this year who have struggled from three. So that makes you feel a little bit better about it. But from a Tatum perspective, he's getting killed when defenses drop on him. And I thought tonight early was another example with Bamba in there and them packing that paint. It's easy to throw bodies in the lane at him right now
Anytime
and
there's
really
a
make
real
it
rim
difficult.
protector, it changes things a little bit. For sure.
And I wrote about that the other day at CLNS that's his kryptonite this year. You know, play some zone against them. You know, pack the paint.
He still ended up a plus 36 tonight. So
his passing was
right. I mean,
his
we're
passing
talking
again was
about
pretty good, except for the two he threw like 7 feet away from a guy out of bounds. But those baffle me too when he does it. He just misses guys by
turnovers are a little high.
several feet. But still, he had an all-around decent game. It's just the shot wasn't falling again. It's just weird.
Well, that's what we're talking about. We're just talking about the shooting. We're not saying he had a bad game, but listen, the shooting is the most important part of his game. You know, he can improve on the glass. He can improve as a passer, playmaker. But the guy needs to be averaging close to 30 points a game if you want to go where you want to go with him leading the way. So, you know, these nights where he goes 2 for 8 from 3 or 1 for 10 or 0 for whatever, 15 points tonight, like, yeah, you're going to get by when you're playing one of the worst teams in the NBA. But again, it's what I go back to, like, everyone's talking about the playoffs. Like, that line, this stat line is not going to cut it in the playoffs.
I do think the chat's got it wrong a little bit, and I don't understand the no offense, guys. I don't understand the being defensive about Tatum. In order for them to win, Tatum can't, as Jimmy just said, can't put up these types of stat lines. It's not good enough. He has to be a.
Are we haters now? Is that it?
He has to. No, he just has to be a better scorer, like more consistent all the time. So
I think everyone would say that. Even Tatum would say that.
You need those early season struggles to we thought he had those back-to-backs where he kind of washed it away and we're like, turn a corner. And then there's still a 1 of 10, 2 of 10, 1 of 8 kind of 3-point days. And you're like, oh shit, he's still there. So
you got to ask if he's doing the 3-point contest. And he's like, no, I went 0 for 20. I'm not doing it.
Yeah. You need him to clear it. So
I don't think this is the year for him to do it.
So you don't have to think about it anymore. Like, he's being held to a different standard. He has to be an MVP level guy. You know, when the games really matter and in the playoffs to have a shot, you can't have, Tatum had a crap series. Tatum has a crap series that gets swept. You can't do that. Right. It's just, he has to be phenomenal. So again, it's not Tatum's the least of our, people are saying Tatum's the least of our worries. No, he's the most of our worries, only in the sense of, he has to be nearly freaking perfect. This team doesn't have enough margin for error to sustain.
And this is against Orlando and Detroit.
He has to be awesome. Yeah,
exactly. Take that into consideration too.
You think he'd be able to just show up and score 30, 40 against these teams at will? The only thing that makes you feel a little bit better when he has nights like this is that he's doing so much other stuff. Like you mentioned, Jimmy and John. It's high assist nights, rebounding. It's the best it's ever been from him. Defense, he's locked in on that end of the floor. So that's what Ime told him early this year. If you're not shooting well, you got to do all of the other things, and he is for round 2.
Right.
And that's what has them playing so well on defense this year as a team. And that's what I love about Ime. Like, he is tapped into these guys. Feels like he's getting them to play the way he wants them to. I think Ime.
I still don't know about the 8-guy rotation though.
And the double big, like there are things that do annoy you about
Ime saying, "Get me some guys."
Yeah, that's got to put a feather in his cap. He's had a good first year. Not great. He makes mistakes. The Schroeder smart thing still exists. But yeah, like you said, Jimmy, it's what he has. He's got to get one more rotation guy, I would think, here at the deadline.
Yeah, he might end up with one less.
Yeah, right. Whoa, you said one more. Oh, sorry about that. We thought you said
Oh, this
one
is going to be a
less.
fascinating week. It really is, not just from a Celtics perspective, but a lot of
Who's
different
most
teams.
likely to be traded? Not on the Celtics, but just in the league. Like, are there really? I mean, I know that LeVert just went. I think I'm hearing a couple other
Well,
guys from the Pacers could go.
I mean,
I
the
don't know.
Most
Like,
likely.
the Schadenfreude surrounding the net situation right now is off the charts. Like I want it to happen. I want this team to blow up so badly. I mean, this is the best.
it's
It feels
happening.
like
I
it's
think
It's the best.
it feels like it's
Bobby
happening.
said
I
it
couldn't
best earlier.
believe it.
He's like, yeah. I mean, you've got angry Durant on Twitter again. Like, that's when you know things are
Oh,
going wrong.
it's so
Things are going
it's
wrong
so
in paradise, right?
it's so delicious.
Kyrie today
somehow,
was like,
somehow Kyrie's taking fire from the media. Like, who could have ever seen this situation panning out? He's the last guy standing. All of a sudden,
Kyrie
Oh,
today was like, yeah, I've talked to him a little bit. I think he's committed. Like there is even Harden.
yeah,
Like they asked him about it, and he's like, "Oh, I haven't heard any reports." And Nash, they're like, "Oh, you trading him?" And he's just like, "Nope." Like there's been no firm denial from anyone that this is brewing behind the scenes. And to have Shams actually saying that the Nets are gonna play ball here, that was unreal. I never ever imagined we get to this. We were joking around about Kyrie and Simmons getting swapped just because of the weird situations they were in. To have that flip into a real Harden Simmons thing that I think could happen by Thursday, there's a lot of momentum behind it. That is insane. That's the
yeah.
craziest situation I've ever seen in this league or any league, really. Wouldn't that be the craziest trade ever in sports?
it's a good question. I mean, it'd
It
be
would
pretty
be up
nuts.
there.
Yeah.
Maybe in
Oh, it'd be
basketball.
unreal, especially between two teams that are kind of competing right now.
Honestly, it could be up there because football you don't even get trades, so that's not going to win. Baseball, there's been some big trades blocked over the years, but even in basketball, yeah, it would definitely be up there. Basketball is like the sport where these big trades tend to happen more than any other league, so it would definitely be up there. I mean, and what's funny is it might actually benefit both teams in a
That's why I
perfect
think it's going to happen.
in a perfect world, if both these players are actually buy in and play to their potential, it's a better fit for both teams. That's the risk is that, you know, Brooklyn takes on a player in Simmons that we're not even sure wants to play basketball anymore, and Sixers take on a guy like Harden who could, has shown already that he could just up and leave whenever he feels like it.
Has
So
there ever
there's risk involved.
Has there ever been a collection of superstars all on the same team who've had such a difficult time playing with every other person? Like I mean,
They can't get out there together. It's been 16
But no, I'm
games.
saying Kyrie, like, oh, gotta get away from this LeBron guy. Like, no,
Yeah,
dude,
right.
everybody wants to play with LeBron.
You're the only guy in history.
Then he comes here and plays on a potential super team that has like 8 all-stars, like, oh, get me the frick out of here. Goes over there. Now he's pissed off Harden. Harden can't play with anybody anymore. Durant leaves the greatest franchise in pro sports that he could have won like 15 straight titles with if he just wasn't a baby. Comes over here. Like, how could you possibly root for these freaking guys? Like, and now they're like, oh, what did we get ourselves into? Like nobody wants a piece of this anymore. I mean, and Kyrie's
Does anyone root for the Nets?
And Kyrie's at the center. You know what? I rooted for the spectacle because it really could have been the greatest thing we've ever seen in the history of the NBA. Like they've played 16 friggin' games together.
The most we saw was them against the Celtics in the first round last year.
My God.
It was lethal at times.
And Harden was like on one leg and they were still that good.
It's kind of a shame to if injuries are the reason and, COVID obviously and everything else that's going on. Because you would have liked to have seen like what they're capable of. And yeah, it's fun and they're easy to hate because, the best players, teaming up are, that's like kind of like a fan's
I think people
opposing
like
fan's
Steve
dream
Nash too.
Yeah, of course, people like Steve Nash. And I think everyone thought he was going to have his hands full once, this team was assembled here. It's too bad, but at the same time, it makes it that much more interesting because the other side of it was, wow, okay, so the Nets are just going to be the best team in the NBA for the next 5 years, and nobody's going to have a chance. And
Wait, so we're talking about it like it's the end. Now it's the end of this collective, but this is the other side to it. And I have not been a Simmons guy, but doesn't he make so much sense there? Oh, this
I don't
is
know
like
what
a
makes sense
dream
with Simmons
landing spot
anymore.
for
I mean,
him.
if you're just talking what we've seen from Simmons in the past, yeah, but it's been like a year now, and this guy hasn't stepped on the court and shot a basketball with anybody in the NBA, since he walked, the famous choke job of last
That
series. So
piece last week was unreal. Did you read it?
not fully, no. I'm not.
So
No, can't really read. So
he blamed Doc for not trying to like get to the gym with him more this
oh
offseason,
yeah,
like
he thought
finding
this.
him
He
wherever he
thought they
was.
didn't go. Yeah, they didn't go far
No.
enough
And then
to
he was like,
cater to him.
and then he was like, "Oh, I didn't blame Embiid for blowing the series in 2019 in a series that he was
Yeah,
pretty bad in
right.
too."
He was bad, and I didn't say bad things about him, and then he said mean things about me.
It's
I don't
sad. It's
Oh man,
pathetic.
understand
It's
he
pathetic,
is
dude.
lost.
how in the
It's
world,
so
like,
soft.
you're a professional athlete. You can't handle criticism.
It's
Oh
so
my
soft, man.
goodness gracious!
Shaq said
Like,
it best last week. Like he pretty much
He
said like
DM'd Shaq. You heard Shaq talking about him bad on TV, and he DM'd him.
recently.
Yes,
Yeah,
last
well, because
week.
last week Shaq pretty much said like, listen, like me and Chuck, there's nobody that we're harder on than Joel Embiid. And what does Joel Embiid do? Yeah, he might fire back some shots at us, but he still goes out there and he tries to prove to himself and prove to everyone else that he's the best player in the NBA. And look at the Sixers right now with everything going on. Embiid's the MVP front runner right now in a lot of people's minds, and they're in a position to be dangerous in the playoffs depending on how things go here. So that's the difference between Embiid and Simmons. Simmons needs to just man up, grow up, show up, and do your job. It's really that simple, And like this whole like, oh, I'm not, he just wants to say it's mentally he's not ready and all this nonsense. Like, dude, nobody believes that. Like, Rich Paul is in your ear, and it's sad that it got to this point. No, there's no winners right now. Everyone's kind of losing out on the situation. So
right.
it would be good for it to end in some way, shape, or form because the longer it drags out, the uglier it just looks.
I think you put Harden on the Sixers right now. That puts the Sixers in a really scary territory, I think, with what he could provide to them alongside Embiid. I know he's had a down year, but I still think he would just be so amazing playing off Embiid and vice versa. And you throw Simmons with Kyrie and Durant, Simmons could take 0 shots in a game and still have a pretty effective outing, and no one would complain about it. So this is a deal that I think makes a lot of sense, especially if extra stuff comes back from Philly.
I'm losing my mind. Can I address something? What is wrong? What is it with you guys in the chat with this obsession about talking about Jaylen Brown? What do you want to talk about? He had 25 points. He made 1 out of 9 3-pointers.
I talked about Brown.
No, but I'm saying in the chat, they're like, they won't talk about JB.
We said
He
rest in
literally-
peace.
He
Mo
sucked
Bamba.
he sucked in the first half. He went 1 of 9 from 3. He had one stretch where he got hot, had a phenomenal dunk, which we talked about. At the end of the day, it was a fairly pedestrian game even by Jaylen standards. What are we doing here? What do you want to talk about? Go ahead. What do you guys want? Jaylen Brown had 26 points.
You kind of nailed it. Yeah, I mean, listen, I thought, okay, if we really want to do this, I thought the dunk was unbelievable.
Okay,
Spencer, killed a man.
Put some respect on Jaylen's name. Go ahead.
Yeah, zero again, like zero, like emotion after a dunk like that. I can't figure that out still. Like, how do you not like scream at the top of your lungs after just doing that to somebody? But hey, just another day at the office for Jaylen Brown. But like, yeah, listen, this was a blowout win against one of the worst teams in the NBA. Jaylen Brown did Jaylen Brown things out there. You want to do 45 minutes on Jaylen Brown? I mean, I think that's kind of boring TV, to be completely honest.
The only thing I'll say about him is we've talked about his high turnovers and him being aggressive. That's just going to happen. I feel the same way about his shooting percentage this year, and he's been a pretty efficient guy in the past. He's had some ridiculously efficient
Jaylen
games.
Brown gets our phenomenal player of the game, okay? Is everybody happy? Our PPG.
Yeah, we start giving those out.
The phenomenal player of the game, Jaylen Brown.
We're gonna actually call it the Jaylen Brown Phenomenal Player of the Game award. So he's always going to be involved in the award, whether or not he gets it.
Here's my thing. I love
named
when he
after
shoots a
Jaylen
ton. The more Brown shoots, the better. So I love a game like this. I love the way he's played lately, even though the efficiency's down. They just need a guy like Schroeder to crack open this offense. And when he's driving a ton and shooting a ton, that usually flips the lid off the basket there and picks up free throws. And his aggression off the ball has been really good, I feel like. And him and Tatum are still passing to each other.
They
So
did. Couple nice things early. Tatum found him on the break and transition.
it's
in the first
amazing.
half.
Remember how we said like 2 months ago that never happens, and now it happens every game like clockwork? I mean, that's another thing you tip your hat to Ime for. He stressed that between these two.
Phenomenal. Just phenomenal.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So there you go.
Phenomenal game. Phenomenal award. Really.
Yeah.
I don't
Man, I'm
think.
excited.
I'll say
By the
this.
way, if I was
There's
actually
probably
giving
only,
my
like-
phenomenal player of the game, I give it to Dennis. Sorry, guys, but
So would I.
that's fine.
John, don't let a couple of negative Nancys in the chat hijack our
No,
show. Because I think the
get it.
majority of people don't need to hear 30 minutes of Jaylen Brown every episode.
At this
30
point,
seconds.
I thought.
30 seconds is fair, though.
At this point, I thought it was entertaining enough to address some of the Jaylen Brown guys.
Yeah.
Should we talk LeVert a little more in depth?
How in depth do you want to go here?
Oh, we were kicking around
mean,
earlier. I felt like you really wanted them to do it.
No, it's not do it. It's just yet another.
It's
thing.
the principle.
It's two things that bother
No,
me.
it's do you want them to do it or not? You can talk about every deal.
It's two things. I don't like this. I don't understand why every time somebody is mentioned or somebody gets traded elsewhere, why the first reaction from kind of, the Celtics bubble is, well, let me find something wrong about the guy. Everybody's got warts except for the people here, which is so weird to me. Like, oh, well, you need another guy who's going to shoot 32%. Like, everything is bad. Like, who do you think they're acquiring? Like a Jaylen Brown level phenomenal player? Like, they're not going to get somebody that
Right.
good. Like, you're looking for your 3 or your 4 or your 5, which Levert and Powell probably slide into. Like, if that's what you're looking for, another guy to play alongside those, to run the bench unit and be the main offensive threat running with the second unit, to play in a small ball lineup and spread the floor and do different things, shot creation, then yeah, that's what you're athletic, wing, switchable. Like, my God, we're like, nah, I don't want the 6'7" athletic shot creating wing. Like, what are we talking about here? That's what was so bizarre to me. Does he fit perfectly? I don't know. Depends how you use him. I mean, we've seen people fit in certain lineups on this team and other people
He can
not.
score. When
But he
healthy,
can score. He's
yeah.
a shot creator. He's a shot maker. That's valuable. So people dismissing it out of hand is the main thing I was reacting to, Bobby. I'm like, wait, who do you guys want? Like, what do people want? Especially if they can be had for next to nothing. That's what I don't get. If it's just money, I'll take almost anything, right? This is a guy who's going to be who you have for another year, who could be eligible for an extension if it worked out. Like, there's lots of positives to bringing that in.
Yeah, but the points are true. I mean, they are. The shooting's been rough throughout his career. He's a guy with the ball in his hands a ton. There's a place you could put him, and I do agree. I agree with the principle that you're stacking talent right now more than looking for fit. But I would have liked a guy like Powell more, just because of the fit.
He's a better shooter.
Yeah, it's something you need a little bit more of. And LeVert's so expensive at this point. He's not a young guy on the rookie deal anymore. You'll have to pay him more than he's already making, I would imagine, at the end of this deal. So you are kind of married to him, once you make that move.
For 2 years, a year and a half.
I know, but if you're not going to just let him go after that, he's part of what you're doing going forward. So
Well,
what do we
assuming
got
it works, yeah.
We got a first protected. We got the Rockets second, which is like 31. So that's almost a second first. And then what would the Celtics have given up? Richardson, I'd be more okay with, but I'm not trading Smart for LeVert.
I don't think anybody's saying to trade Smart for LeVert.
Well, does Richardson and 2 firsts get it done?
I don't even think you needed
I
to
bet
do
you
that.
some people would trade Smart for LeVert, to be honest, though. I mean, I know Bobby wouldn't, and you could probably make an argument for both sides.
But that's not why you need to. That's the whole point. The main point is that these guys are being given away for next to nothing. So
they had a decent amount of picks here. And yes, I'm not opposed to giving up multiple picks, but I want to be for a guy that I really like. Like, I'm still fixated on Sabonis. Could they get on Sabonis this deadline? I'd be giving up quite a few picks there.
Fuzzy makes a good point. Herschel Walker trade was pretty crazy. Ricky Williams trade was also crazy, and Eric Lindros trade are among ones that I remember here as being kind of
Herschel
bananas.
Walker. Okay, well,
That's an old one. Yeah, it's
That's
an old
a-
one.
I don't remember
That's
that. Well,
a boomer.
I guess I
trade.
got to put my perspective in.
By the time people heard about it, it was 2 weeks later. But yeah, it was a big trade when it went down.
You
that
now know him as
Telegram.
George. You now know him as Georgia Senate candidate Herschel Walker, but he used to be.
Yeah, right. That's how long ago.
He used to be one of the greatest athletes who's ever lived, who allegedly never even lifted a weight, and just got that jacked by doing like push-ups and pull-ups.
The Bill Russell trade was
It's
pretty
like Tom
crazy.
Brady.
Didn't they trade
The
a
Bill
team
Russell
for
trade,
Bill
yeah.
Russell?
Yeah. Where's Nick to tell us about that?
Nick will be texting me after this. The Harden
Yeah.
trade would have nothing on the Russell one.
Hey, what about the T-Wolves? They've got a couple guys floating around in rumors.
So that's interesting. We didn't talk about that, and the commenters were begging me to the other night. Apparently, the Celtics were asking for McDaniels and Beasley and a first, right, for Smart.
Mm-hmm.
That's interesting, because if we saw that trade actually go down, I think we'd be pretty divided on that. You know, I don't love that return for Smart, but
you don't love it. You don't love the return current day, but I think the idea is that McDaniels and Beasley with more playing time and consistent
McDaniels
age.
is fascinating.
Yeah, I mean those guys are. Was he a second-year player, McDaniels?
Yeah, he's in the Rising Stars, right?
Yeah.
Who isn't? Everyone's got some.
Yeah. Is he not wearing a Celtics jersey? Then yeah, he's in the Rising.
Then yes, he's in the Rising
in
Stars.
that game. Yeah.
I don't know. I don't like Beasley though. I don't know what their fascination is with him. He's having a bad year.
He's not having a great year.
He doesn't really do much but shoot, right? I mean,
and he's got that domestic violence thing too, which I don't
and shoot poorly.
Yeah, typically you don't love those things to go along with the player that you're trading for, but.
To see them
but is that the level of
the point is this with Beasley?
Expect?
Beasley's overall still a better shooter than anybody they have, coming off the bench.
He had a really good year last year, didn't he?
In general, he's a 38% three-point shooter. Like he's a guy he's more of a scorer. A couple of years ago, he averages, the last 2 years he's a 20-point per game guy. So he's a scorer. Again, you're looking at people who score, who can make shots, who can create their own offense. He falls into that mix, and he can maybe be had cheaply. So again, these are the types of guys you're getting, and then you're rolling the dice and hoping that they make you better. There's no all-stars waiting out there to be plucked for next to nothing, for TPEs and for mid first round picks. That's the caliber of player you're getting. I mean, Leverett, Beasley,
those two guys are your two best players coming off the bench, just like that. You know what I mean? And
they immediately slot into probably top 5 players on your team. Truthfully, I mean, right? They're no worse than the 5th best player on your roster
because
right
Smart
now.
Goes, so they slide into that.
Even if Smart doesn't, they jump in ahead of Al.
Yeah,
in terms of talent, they're easily among your best.
Position wise, they're coming off the bench. Based
probably.
But that's just in today. Like the idea would be that these guys improve. They're still young. Like they're pretty. Like I said, McDaniels is his second year in the league. So.
What is interesting now is the report off of that now
Well, real quick, why
didn't Jimmy, sorry.
Was there any details as to why it didn't happen, or was it just a very weak rumor, or
so they were connected to Beasley through Richardson in one report, and then there was another report that said the Wolves are after Smart and the Celtics threw back asking price of McDaniels, Beasley, and I think there was a first asked for there as well, which is interesting. That is a decent amount of stuff coming back. I don't know. I've never been a big Beasley guy. I like McDaniels. And then you're asking in any trade where you trade Smart for a wing or wings, it's like, where do you go for that point guard from there? I know you can always get a guy, but on a team where everybody's like, they need a point guard, they need an organizer, to send out the only guy who's doing it is tricky to me.
So the other interesting thing on top of that
next season, it's not.
Yeah, it's just kind of an asset accumulation, I guess.
Well, the other interesting thing is that also the report that Sabonis and Turner are basically they're dangling everybody now. So, who knows where they're going to get here in a fire sale sort of place. But again, every time you come up with it, you start thinking, is a package that centers around Rob and whatever else worth it for Sabonis? And would they take it?
We didn't even talk about Rob tonight.
But if it was Rob and another kid and picks, does that get you there, and do you do it?
I'm still on board the
Well,
trade I was
the
talking
more I
about
watch
earlier in
Rob,
the year.
Did he
which
stop
is
talking?
I think. Oh, there we go.
what?
Yeah, I'm still on board
Jimmy,
with
we
the
lost you, buddy. Go ahead.
Oh, can you hear me?
We have you, but you just kind of stopped talking.
Oh, we
Okay.
lost him.
He'll be
Yeah,
back. He'll be back.
I love this Sabonis trade if you could pull it off, where maybe you give up Rob, Smart, picks. That's how much I love him. Like, he could be your third guy, in my opinion, that sets up the Jays, plays the high post, can get better. Still decently young guy, not making extraordinary money. So I know Smart's played better. I know Rob's played better. Rob is seemingly part of the core going
I don't think
forward.
Smart is part of that deal, though, Bobby, because they're trying to get off salary, not to bring it in. So Smart's not going there. It would be Rob, and you try to stack some money together. It might have to be Richardson and picks or something, and that's probably as I don't know.
So
what
I
else
know
to do.
you're the big Rob guy. I like him more than I ever have before, but I'm still not opposed to it. I think people need to really look at what Sabonis brings to the table. He is a complete product right now. Rob, he's going in a great direction, but there's still durability concerns.
I would hate to do it. I just don't see how you don't.
How you
Yeah.
can't if that's there.
I'm
Yeah.
kind of feeling that way. I mean, you guys know my stance on Sabonis and the Pacers players in general. I'm a big fan collectively. That being said, every game it seems like Rob is looking more and more comfortable out there just doing Rob things. He threw down, I think his head hit the rim tonight on that alley-oop. He had a couple of really nice blocks. This is like becoming the like norm. So I'm a
Sabonis
little.
doesn't suck at defense, by the way. Everyone says that.
I don't think Sabonis sucks on defense at all, and I think I've said it on the show is that I think he's the most one of as good as Rob is at passing. Sabonis is to me like one of the best passing big men in the NBA.
Remember when he did in that game against the Celtics when he was like
Yeah.
double teamed and he whipped it out to the corner? Oh, he was awesome.
He can bounce pass. He can pass in the lane. I mean, him and Tatum, I think we have a nice little thing going on right there. Not to say that Rob and Tatum don't, and I'm sure Tatum would be upset with that deal because it sounds like him and Rob are pretty close. So there's some things you got to look
You
at
have
when
to
you make a
factor
deal.
that in.
You do
actually do have to factor that in because he's seen other buddies go. He was like bummed about things like what's his name and went to
Green,
Chicago,
which was actually a bad trade. I mean, Tatum probably saw something in Green that the Celtics didn't.
But you don't want to
Totally.
trade Tatum's buddies. You do need to. That honestly might be a tipping point reason.
Right. That being said, I think Sabonis is great. I don't really need them to take Miles Turner. I'm not really sure why the Pacers would trade two bigs to take another one back. I don't know if that's who they want to build
I
around
guess they
in that
would trade
situation.
both and go with Rob.
Yeah, right. But I mean, like, is that a type of player you can really build around in a rebuild? I'm not sure. I think you might be looking for somebody. I don't know. I think you might be looking for more of a scorer traditionally.
So they've been said to be looking for the Vucevic deal for Sabonis, which was 2 firsts and Wendell Carter. So 2 firsts and Rob, that's comparable, right? Rob's a better prospect than Carter.
And I think Sabonis is a Celtics fan from growing up. I think even though his dad was never on the Celtics, his dad was a big Celtics fan. I read this on Wikipedia, so I know it's true.
Because everybody in Europe of that age was a Celtics fan.
Right. So he's got NBA blood in him. Sabonis was a beast. I know, like that's John's wheelhouse time frame of those years. Sabonis really was a beast. So.
He was so good.
Yeah.
He just by the time he came here, he needed a walker. He had no knees.
Yeah.
If the Celtics got Sabonis, there would be a 2-week Ryan Goodman special on our previous Sabonis.
Yeah.
It's a shame Arvydas came here so late. He was like a 60-year-old man when he got
and
to the NBA.
And he still did his thing, but yeah, in Europe he was like a legend.
Yeah.
Sabonis,
but anyways,
man, I would be thrilled if they got him at the
best passing big man. Holy crap, was he good?
Yeah,
and so his son,
you can see it in his kid a little bit.
Yeah, he's very similar player.
Polished, very polished, good footwork, smart, heady player. And again, not to take anything away from Rob. Rob is really showing, his worth and the things that Rob does well. He does just as good, if not better, than the rest of the league. When talking about getting up there, blocks, the ability to grab 15, 20 boards if he really has his head in the game.
You do bring up a good point on the money, John. They are cheap. I mean, I saw tickets going for $1.
$1?
I'm talking the Pacers.
Okay.
I saw tickets going for $1 at the arena. They just re-signed Lance, I guess, to bring some fans in for like the 5th time. They're
Yeah.
pushing the luxury tax.
Lance is keeping that place afloat, I think, right now.
They're pushing the luxury tax in Indy, and Rob's on a really good deal. So there's probably more of a chance of something like that happening than people think. It just depends on how much the Celtics like Rob and Tatum likes Rob and all that different kind of stuff you talk about. My thing is, and listen,
It would wound my soul. It would really hurt me to do it.
Yeah.
And part of me would still wonder if it wasn't a good deal. So it's not a slam dunk. I just don't think you have a lot of opportunities to get
well, that's a good thing, right?
High caliber NBA talent. So if it didn't happen, I wouldn't be heartbroken.
Normally you look at
Right.
deals and say, oh,
Right.
what are the Celtics going to give up? They have absolutely nothing. And to finally have a guy who you're like, oh, do we want to give him up? Didn't
That's
the
what
Celtics
we
do that with
said.
Jefferson?
But part of it is not that, though. It's
We've
more
been
about
waiting for this moment, though, to have that player. We've been saying it for 2 years. They
But
don't have
I don't even
anybody.
know if he is. To me, it's as much like
He's not
just
there
like
yet.
he's just like the he's so likable. He's just so just like earnest and honest.
I agree. I love
is
him.
like such a you want players like that to root for and to watch them grow and to become something. I just don't know if he is how far past this he's gonna go, but homegrown is so much better, and especially if you like the personality of the guy and you like his vibe, and like I like everything about Rob, and so that's what makes it hard.
Here's the thing too, if you do something like this now and say you still want to think about doing that Beal thing later, you can kind of pick between Sabonis and Brown at that point. Or if you end up doing a Brown thing, all of a sudden you have Sabonis to pair with whatever you get back. This is why I like the idea of stepping stone moves for this group, because you can always pivot to other things after that. Sabonis will be valuable for years to
again
come.
he's so like good him. But again, I my heart, it's a heart versus head thing. My heart does not want to trade Rob for anybody, not for Sabonis.
Well,
it just
then you're not a killer, John. You're not a killer.
I might not be.
What can Rob become? That's still the big question. I love everything he does. I don't know what he looks like at his peak. Is it just a better version of what he's doing now? Or is he
I
hear you, some sort of Jokic?
So that's the thing. I thought this year, I still believe that if somebody reaches him and whatever it is, and he actually has an off season of development and works with people, and actually, I don't know what he's doing to get better. I think it's literally just all innate ability, and then he just picks up stuff as he's going. I think like there could be 5 gears left. I also wouldn't be shocked if there's only half a gear, but I there's something about him where you're like, would it be stunning if he showed up one year and all of a sudden he was like hitting elbow jumpers and like ball faking and driving by guys and dunking off one leg, I would not be shocked because it's there. Like the coordination, the athleticism, there's so much there. If he had a little drop step, a little baby hook, it's there's no reason to think it can't. You just haven't seen it. So I don't know, I don't know.
He's a tough guy. We've never seen a player like him. You can say Capella, but he's better than Capella. There's been other pick and roll guys.
That's the thing. We thought Capella was the ceiling. He's better than Capella today.
Yeah. So
the good news is if you trade him to Indy, you'll never have to see any of his growth. That's right. You never have to feel bad about it.
Sabonis is kind of the finished product, and you like what it is. He is what, 19, 12, 5, 1-1 this year? Averages. I mean, that is just ridiculous. He is so underrated.
I believe you if those are the stats. I don't have them memorized off the top of my head, but that's
I looked at them earlier. I didn't just pull those out of the
yeah, like what is he like 19, 12?
I don't know. I don't think they're trading Rob. I kind of don't want to trade Rob. I just throw it out there because it's such
he's still tricky
ever
to trade
no matter
too.
What.
Of course, look, yes, I don't want to, but I recognize if he becomes the centerpiece of a roll-up picks and players.
This is how I mean, John, this is against everything you've been saying for 2 years.
I know, but it's totally sentimental. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, it's, you're going to have to cry it out. You're going to have to cry it out.
Yeah,
you're going to have to cry it out, and we're going to do what's best for the team.
By the way, Turner, no one wants Turner that bad. It seems like
no,
they've been trying to trade him since our whole argument 2 years ago when the show began.
Turner's going to end up like owning part of the team. Like he's never going anywhere.
I don't know. I feel like Turner always had the ability to be. I mean, he has like the makeup to be really multi-dimensional in this league. I mean, block shots, hits threes, but the percentages aren't there. I understand, and I'm not watching every Pacers game, but the games that I do watch, I always feel like left like, oh, I feel like he could have done more or
Someone's waiting to
had a
just.
much
Well,
bigger effect.
I felt like the Celtics could take him for nothing too, and Ainge was like, "Oh, he makes too much money for what
I
he
don't know.
brings you." So
We don't know, but anyway, we got a lot more of this talk. We're going to wrap it up, but I did want to tell everybody again, Bobby's heading to Brooklyn to take on that
Nice.
Nets game,
perfect timing.
which is unreal timing just in terms of like where everything is right now. Brooklyn was the
No
odds
Kyrie,
on
sadly.
Brooklyn as of yesterday morning, or was the odds on favorite to the betting favorite to win the NBA title, and tonight they are in the play-in game.
The 76ers odds shifted like crazy too.
And they are
when the
tied with the
Harden's
Celtics now in the 7 and 8. Brooklyn percentage points ahead, but this is their 8th straight loss today. They got freaking smoked. It's at home.
That's
it's at
crazy.
Brooklyn, so there's no Kyrie. There might not be Harden. There's no Durant. So who knows what team you're playing? You could go
That
in
kind
there.
of blows. Yeah, that sucks.
It's
No Joe Harris either. Zach Lowe saying Joe Harris might miss
This
the
is,
year.
you know what, John? I hate to say it. This is starting to remind me of the New England Patriots season. How many wins did they have that turned out to be fake wins? And when the playoffs rolled around, we were like, wow, they actually weren't even close to it.
People will call us haters for saying that, Jimmy, but I've been thinking that the whole time. Is there's a lot of empty calories on their schedule. As bad luck.
Here's the thing, though. That's the rest of the schedule
but
now.
as bad luck as the Celtics had last year, and I absolutely acknowledge they had the worst COVID and injury luck by miles last year. It screwed up their whole season, and we don't like
Brown
to make
didn't play
excuses.
on the stretch run, which
The
was
whole when they got Fournier, then he got COVID. They couldn't get right ever. Disaster. This year is the opposite. Yes, they've had their injuries and their ups and downs, but it's always been just one guy, maybe two for a stretch. But the teams they've played have been out 2 and 3 stars left and right
many.
all season long. They have had so many games against top level teams that were missing 2 or 3 of their best players. And even when the Celtics were down 1 sometimes, it still tipped the scales. They have had a ton of these games, a ton of them.
A ton,
so, yeah.
And that's what happened to the Patriots. They were playing the Titans without Henry.
Which is fine.
Listen, they win the games they need to win. Yeah,
they were losing
the games they need to win, but I'm just saying,
Well, when you do look at their schedule the rest of the way, there's like 7, 8, maybe 9 hard games left. They played Detroit 3 more times. The schedule lightens up big time through the end of the season as a whole. There's a couple of tough ones in like the last week against Chicago, Milwaukee, Memphis, but it's a straight shot here. Who knows? Maybe this team could get a home court spot the way the East is shifting.
Who knows?
Right
so we got Brooklyn,
easy.
which it'll be fun to beat up on them, and that's what we're kind of hoping happens there. It's just hilarious. You go there and Kyrie can't play, and everybody else is out. That could be the last version.
Last game before the deadline, too.
Yes, the last version of that team.
Yeah, it'll be unreal if Harden moves Thursday. Just mind-blowing. I can't. 3 weeks ago, imagine if you said 3 weeks ago Harden's going to get traded this year.
I don't think he does.
What?
I don't think he does. I think the Nets still think they can win this year, and I don't think they're going to put that in jeopardy.
Yeah.
Well, I did write for Boston Sports Journal. The only reason I could see it happening now is that the Nets can get more now. Like, they can really push Philly to give them Curry, 3 picks, 4 picks, because that's how bad the Sixers might want Harden right now when he could save this season and deliver them a ring. I think it's a good timing to get it done.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. We shall see.
Yeah. No, it is what it is here. So, we got a lot more. Tuesday will be fun. Tuesday will be fun because of Brooklyn, and then obviously trade deadline. We will be live.
If Harden gets traded tomorrow, Tuesday, Wednesday, I'll be on the ground. I can rush to the presser.
We got boots on the pavement, folks.
What's the schedule after Tuesday, Bobby?
Friday against Denver.
It's Friday, right? Tuesday, Friday. So Thursday we are live. What's the time of the trade deadline?
3.
So what I will guarantee to you is we will be live at the moment a trade happens at any point in time in the next few days. So if something goes down tune in. Just look for us. We'll be live. We'll hang out. We'll talk for as long as we're around, as long as we've got you guys in the room. Then we will do a trade deadline show. We'll probably come up a little bit early in that afternoon and just ride us through the deadline and see what happens. Brace for it, folks. Nothing. So build your anger.
We did one last year, and we got the late news. The Celtics were like they made their deals like after the deadline.
Yeah, it was Fournier, and then it was the Tice Green.
The Tice one.
Yeah.
So we're here. We're hanging out. But there will be stuff. So just make sure you subscribe to our YouTube channels. Check everything out. We will be jumping on there and doing stuff, as it happens. So I'm not. I'm dubious that the Celtics make any big move, but we'll see. We'll see. We got time. We got a few days.
Ahead.
Yes, sir. Yeah, should be fun.
It's gonna be interesting. Someone's
see you
asking
in Brooklyn,
who's taller. Bobby, you're taller than I am, right?
Yeah, I think you're pretty close though. Oh my God, they killed Josue in the comments. They act like he's like 5'1" when we stand next to each other.
Me and Josue, we're not.
Yeah.
What's that, John?
Bobby, are you 6'1", 6'2"?
6'2", yeah.
I'm 6. You're taller than I am.
All right, there you have it. Everyone's been asking.
Congrats, guys.
Chat.
Hey, congrats to the guys. The biggest accomplishments for you guys, huh? Congrats.
Sherrod's tall too. Sherrod's
right up there with me. Yeah.
That's right. That's
take
our front
all you
court
guys in basketball.
That's our starting front court.
We gotta get a Garden Report 2-on-2 going. We'll shoot for teams.
That would be tough television, but we could do that probably.
Jimmy's 3'4".
I do play the. Normally, I'd be posting a lot of the stuff from the first game that happened a couple weeks ago, but it was bad, so we'll keep that secret. The final score.
Yep. Oh yeah, we heard rumors about that final score.
It was like, let's just say it was like a Kings-style loss at TD Garden from a couple weeks ago.
Jesse's very on point.
That's a tough one. All right, guys. Good night again. Thank you. We will see you on Tuesday or sooner if there's a deal. All right, keep it here. Thanks.